I think that Zelos might have just created the world's best affordable GMT because they've delivered insane loom, an incredible aventurine glass dial that's packed with detail, and it's made from full titanium. Oh, and it's also cheaper than a Tissot PRX. I've reviewed a lot of GMT watches now, and this Zelos beats them all. Hello there, my name's Kieran, welcome to Top Tier Ticker. Hope you're having a good day. Today we'll be taking a closer look at this brand new Zelos Thresher watch that is simply breathtaking. I reviewed the Zelos Mako GMT earlier this year, and I was already extremely impressed with what Zelos offered with that watch. But Zelos thought, no, let's take it even further. They've kept the price the same as the Mako GMT, but offered an even more compelling spec sheet. And there was one quite big problem with the Mako GMT that Zelos has definitely fixed on this new watch. Zelos has sent over this watch for free, I do get to keep it, but all views and opinions are mine only. And let's be honest, how many of you would say no to a free Zelos? These are some of the most desirable watches on the entire market. They frequently sell out after release, sometimes in just minutes. And they hold a super strong price on the secondary market. Not to mention one of the best reputations when it comes to delivering top quality watches and customer service consistently. Oh, and by the way, Zelos ships their watches in these awesome watch rolls. They're actually super high quality and really useful. Honestly, I'd happily pay about $100 just for one of these, so it's great that it's included with the watch instead of a crappy cardboard box. Good job, Zelos. Now, although this watch does have 200 meters of water resistance, I wouldn't call it a GMT diver. You know, the ones that come with your typical 24-hour bicolor bezels. Instead, this watch features a Worldtimer bezel, which is going to allow you to track any time zone in the world all on one watch. Basically turning this Zelos into like a bit of a Worldtimer computer. From Tokyo to Mexico, Singapore to London. This bezel features 24 different locations that can be tracked at the same time. And generally speaking, I think that the design of this Zelos leans more towards pilot watch than dive watch, especially with those pronounced numerals around the dial. Those are definitely military inspired. So although this is a dive capable watch, I wouldn't put it in the same genre as the Mako GMT, for example. But let's talk about that dial because wow, is it incredible. I don't think I'll ever not be impressed by an aventurine glass finish. They're just so damn interesting and dynamic, especially for someone who's a bit of a space nerd like me. But Zelos wasn't scared to apply plenty of details to that dial. Those numerals, for example, are raised above the aventurine. We see applied markers frequently on watches, but applied numerals less so. Outside of those, we have a minute track, then a 24-hour scale beyond that. Zelos has cleverly integrated the bicolor aspect to that scale using the same tones as the rest of the watch. And it's nice to see that the only branding on the dial is the applied logo below the 12. The polished handset features a small skeletonized section towards the pinion, occasionally giving the illusion of floating hands in the right lighting. This dial is jam-packed with details, yet somehow those numerals still punch through for quick timekeeping. And the loom on this watch is magnificent. That's because those applied numerals are basically built with loom. And Zelos has used two types of loom here, and they've cleverly separated them to take advantage of the second time zone functionality. They've used C3 Superluminova on the regular hands and numerals. Basically, local time is in green. Then all of the GMT functionality, so the GMT hand, the 24-hour scale, and the Worldtimer bezel, features BGW9, giving the second time zone a blue glow. The green loom is definitely more prominent than the blue, which is good given that local time should be the focus, but how cool is this dual loom? Very clever design from Zelos. The weakest part of the loom definitely comes on that bezel, which isn't surprising given its construction. I know an aventurine dial is nothing new, but an aventurine bezel too? Come on, that's pretty cool. This is real aventurine glass too, with the locations printed on top and then coated in epoxy to protect it from the elements. This bezel features 48 clicks, it has fantastic action and it's very easy to grip. And that bezel, the case and the bracelet are all made from titanium, which means two main things. Firstly, this watch is super duper lightweight. It feels about as heavy as a plastic G-Shock, which does mean it feels a bit cheap in hands. But a byproduct of that is that it also feels incredibly comfortable on wrist. This is a very common feature in titanium watches. It also happens in watches costing tens of thousands too. And the second thing titanium delivers is this incredibly dull tone. You can instantly recognize titanium due to its dark grey colour. Now titanium is much harder to work with than stainless steel, meaning that it's also much more expensive to work with too. And it's even harder to actually attempt different finishes amongst the titanium. Here though, Zelos has gone for different finishes amongst the construction. The case sides, for example, feature a brushed finish, with the lugs featuring a sandblasted finish. watch. But the most impressive area is the bracelet. It features a fine vertical brush through the links with a polished edge running along each side. You seldom see polishing with titanium. This is because it tends to scratch much easier than steel. However, Zelos has used a coating on all of this titanium to make it much more scratch resistant. And after a full week of wear, I can't see a single scratch on mine. The only part of this watch that isn't titanium is the clasp. Zelos instead has used stainless steel here. That's due to the complexity of creating the components for an on-the-fly clasp like this watch has. And I think I'm right in saying that this is a bespoke on-the-fly clasp too. It certainly features an extension system that I've never seen before, with a small platform that sticks out from the clasp, taking care of the micro adjustment rather than the usual links. But I'm just super impressed with how Zelos has managed to match the colour of the clasp, the case and the bracelet together so seamlessly, and I really enjoy the flat construction of those bracelet links. It delivers a sports watch-esque wrist roll, you know, like a PRX for example. Speaking of, the wearing experience here is fabulous, mostly down to how lightweight the watch is. We have a 40.8mm case diameter, the thickness including the crystal is coming in at 12.8mm, and the lug-to-lug is coming in at bang on 47mm. Those end links do extend a little bit beyond that, but they do shoot straight down, so it doesn't really add anything to the size. I think this watch does wear true to size here, although the unusual angular construction of the case does add a little bit of presence. And that thickness is rather impressive for an automatic GMT with 200 meters. I think we can thank a portion of that down to the fantastic crystal. This is the one area where Zelos has massively improved compared with the Mako GMT I reviewed earlier this year. That Mako had quite a reflective experience, and it was actually my main negative with that watch. Here though, on the new Zelos Thresher, it's miles better. The reflections have been reduced, but we still get some cool aesthetics with the top hat construction. This is a piece of sapphire, by the way. It's just styled like an old school piece of acrylic. We also have a piece of glass on the case back, showing off the Miyota 9075 with a custom rotor. Of course, this is a traveler's GMT or a true GMT, meaning that you can set the local time without moving the 24-hour hand. Zelos has moved the date window down to the 6 o'clock, however, and they have used a custom date wheel to match the dial. Now, usually when I make a review, there's a couple of prominent features about the watch that I don't like, you know, stuff that I'd change. But this Zelos has pretty much nailed every aspect. If I'm being picky, I think the extension of the clasp is a bit ugly and it doesn't really match the style of the bracelet well. I also think that the end links could have integrated with the case a bit more seamlessly. They seem a little bit squished on, and the finish into those end links doesn't really match the case very well. But let's talk about the most important spec of them all, the price. This watch launches on the 14th of August, so the release date of this video, with 6 different versions available. You have the 3 sort of standard dial versions at $629. You then have the Mother of Pearl and the Aventurine for $649, and then there's a Damascus special edition for $849. I obviously think that the most compelling option is the Aventurine dial, which is just $20 more than the standard dials, and I believe that there are 300 of each model being made, which is definitely enough for you to get one, but not enough to guarantee you will if you're slow about it. Especially if you want the Pearl or Aventurine, those ones tend to sell out the quickest. All I'm going to say is it's going to be hard for me to review watches that aren't this Zelos for the next few weeks, because Zelos has set the bar exceptionally high with this watch. I think Zelos might have just created the world's best affordable GMT. What do you think? But if for some reason you didn't like the style of this watch but you still want a GMT that's top tier quality, then you need to check out the review of the Mako GMT by Zelos that I did earlier this year. For some reason there's still some left in stock. It's a brilliant watch. Go and check it out. I'll see you over there. Bye for now, guys.